Welcome back to King Josiah TV, where this channel was created to educate, promote, and influence the kingdom of Jesus Christ in this world. I am your host, Josiah, as an ambassador. But guys, before we get started, you know how I do it. If you're listening on YouTube, go ahead and smash the subscribe button before we get started. If you're listening audibly on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, give me that follow button. Let's get into it.
Watch giants fall like Goliath. David, I dance. This ain't no tick-tock. God told me that my steps was ordered. Walking in flip-flops. Chris Rock, how they laughed at me.
One of the biggest things this week was the presidential debate. I'm pretty sure a lot of you listened to it this week. It was late last week that they showed this. And there was a lot of things going on. And if you watched it with an open eye, not watching it from one side over the other, it seemed like it was 3 against 1. They constantly kept muting Trump's mic, but didn't mute hers. They fact-checked Trump multiple times. They never fact-checked Kamala Harris. So it's just, there was just so much there, and I wanted to bring some truth to this. So guys, we're going to get into this. I actually found a newscast anchor. She's actually hosted debates like this before. She broke it all down amazingly. So we're going to go ahead and pull this up on the screen so you guys can listen to this. Because, I mean, the way that she broke it down to me was perfect, because a lot of people, again, have been saying, oh, Kamala Harris won and blah, 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 blah. She smashed him. And it's like she lied multiple times. I mean, over most of the stuff she lied over. She didn't actually, and then they're going to get into it here. But when it came to policy, she never covered one policy. Even the first question out, she dodged the question and didn't answer it. But like I said, I ain't going to talk it away. I'm going to let Miss Megan here and Paul get into it.
Your immediate reaction, and you could see your rage, because you're not like me, like someone who's just watching. You've done this. You've hosted these things before, and you could see that you were seething with rage because these people weren't just not playing fair, they were deliberately trying to kill off one of those two candidates.
Absolutely. It was a 3-on-1 pile-on. It was an ambush, and they went in there prepared to do it.
I mean, you could see from the get, it was completely a setup. And I don't mean to be biased, but I mean, is watching it, man. And after I rewatched it afterwards, it was a complete setup.
Looking back on it now, going back and, we pulled the transcript and you read, all the questions and how it worked. And every single time Trump tried to bridge away or didn't answer the question and tried to answer either his own sort of thoughts, offer his own thoughts on something, or even meander on defending himself against one of her attacks, they would bring him back to their difficult question. Like, the question was this. Every time she did that, she got a pass. They never once did that to her. Every time he said something, they didn't.
What'd I tell you guys? They never fact checked her. Go back and watch it. If you think I'm lying, go back. See if you're lying.
Thing was true. They fact checked him. 9 times out of 10, their fact check was BS. It was made up. It was a lie, or it was an opinion, which had no place at a presidential debate. How many fact checks did they do of her? None.
Not
her
one.
lies,
not one at
all over the place. She started the debate by saying, you're going to hear a lot of lies tonight. And indeed, that was true, but they were from her. And then, as if on cue, in order to help ABC News in its attempt to stick the stiletto in Trump's jugular, you get CNN's Daniel Dale, the official fact checker of CNN, who looks at this debate and says he lied 33 times. Kamala Harris, 1.
Did you say 33 times? It's like we all got the same Google, right? We all got the same way of researching information, the same access to the same internet. My confusion is why can't people look these things up? Why can't people do their fact checks on these debates and these? I mean, come on.
That's what the Republicans are up against in this country. I mean, just off the top of my head, she lied in the way she kept saying he's responsible for 2025, even though he explicitly said that he has nothing to do with it. She lied by calling these Trump abortion bans, in which he repeatedly said he doesn't want the federal government to have anything to do with this. This is a states' rights issue. She knows he has nothing to do with the abortion bans in state by state. The good people on both sides lie about Charlottesville, the bloodbath lie.
And the thing about the abortion thing, and she's going to cover it here in a minute, is that something that they've definitely been for. The states that are backing her up and are behind her are up to abortion up to 9 months. Trump allowed, again, when that bill was passed, when Roe v. Wade was passed, when they took that down, what it allowed was, and again, all this takes is knowing your bills and your facts, that when they did that, they allowed, the government said, no longer we are going to be controlling and over abortion. We're letting the states make this individual choice. What Kamala Harris and the other side is trying to act like Trump is saying that, no, the government's going to intervene and force you to do what they want you to do. No, your state voted on it. You have the decision. Go vote. If you want that in your state, vote for it. Most of the states are saying no on this. So if your state doesn't want this, it has nothing to do with Trump. He allowed you to make the decision, and you guys made the decision that you didn't want. The right one is not to go for it, but to say that he's the reason behind that, or to demonize him over that, is wrong.
There were so many that you, as a moderator, if you wanted to get into the fact-checking business, you absolutely could have called her out on. That, in my view, would have been inappropriate at a presidential debate. But if you're going to do it to him, you have an obligation to do it to her.
To both.
And as I mentioned, those fact checks themselves, erroneous, opinion-laden, and totally out of place. And when it's on one side, now it's election interference. Now you actually do look like a partisan hack. The only silver lining to any of this is that I have to believe that the viewers at home watching this understood, if not explicitly, then on a gut level, this is unfair. I can sense when I'm watching an unfair fight. When I watch a prize.
And I'm just going to say, the people that I talk to, from at work to family and friends, it's sad and it's embarrassing. But most people didn't see it that way. They didn't. They wanted to see one side. They hate one side so much, and they've believed all the rhetoric for so long that they can't see the forest for the trees. Matter of fact, they don't want to. That's the problem.
Fight between two boxers, and the ref keeps stepping in when the one starts pummeling the other, but not when it goes the other way. I know something. I know one person is in an inferior position when it comes to a fair contest, and I naturally start to feel some empathy for that person, and actually at the same time, disdain for the two pummelers, or in this case, the three of them. And so ultimately today, I feel like they could have gone so far that the backlash will be against them and Kamala Harris, as opposed to against Donald Trump, who took the beating.
Yeah,
we'll see. As time goes along, I'm gonna fast forward this guy's a little bit because this is like a 20-minute video. So she can kind of get in some of the facts, so you guys can get kind of the meat of that, because that was my point in playing this. I wanted some people to see this, and I know a lot of you do your research, you're looking at these things already, but a lot of this stuff is very important. Again, I'm very big on policy, and looking at that and being conscious of that, not being so conscious of the person and who you don't like, that you're not actually looking at the policies. The policies is what's important. The policies are going to make change. Not who you don't like, not who you think speaks better, not who you think dresses better, or whatever it may be. But let's go ahead and skip forward a little bit, because I want her to get into the meat of what facts she found.
Didn't happen. And that's yet another reason why David Muir's attempt to fact check this issue was so inappropriate. It's a he said, they said at this point.
Let me go back.
That's not
okay.
In the split screen. But on top of it, she wasn't openly cackling, because she's clearly been instructed never to laugh again. But she did laugh. She laughed twice in response to his answers. And one was on the economy and one was on immigration.
Yep.
He was raising the thing about what's happening in Springfield, Ohio, with whether people's pets are getting eaten or attacked or killed by these Haitian migrants who are all over this town. And she laughed openly at him. It's no laughing matter.
There's open footage of people in Ohio. Again, guys, look it up. There's open videos of people in Ohio. I did my own research afterwards, because I'm being unbiased. When I first heard Trump say that, I wasn't fully aware of it. So I was like, that sounds a little. If you shouldn't have said that, homie. I went and looked it up, dude. It's true. There's videos of a black guy talking about they're picking up ducks, cutting their heads off. I mean, this isn't a fact. This isn't a fable. And then I heard somebody say, "Oh, well, if you've never seen it, it didn't happen." That's just like saying I'd never seen a skyscraper fall. So skyscrapers never fall. They fall. Buildings fall. It happens. Because I haven't seen it in person doesn't make it a not reality.
First of all, there are first person testimonials all over television and the internet of people in Springfield saying this is happening. There's a city manager who says they couldn't prove it. That does not mean it didn't happen. And that's yet another reason why David Muir's attempt to fact check this issue was so inappropriate. It's a he said, they said at this point. That's not the kind of thing a debate moderator should weigh in on. You are not there to be a judge. You're a questioner. That's it. Who died and left him king of Springfield? Anyway, So they're raising this problem about what's happening with the Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio. And her response is to laugh at it. Well, what are you laughing at this woman, Noelle, whose soundbite we played on our show 2 days ago, who's an elderly woman who says they're camped out on her front lawn every night to the point where she's too terrified to go outside. And her husband says she has to move. Is that funny to you? Is it funny to you, the Facebook post that did indeed say that somebody's cat had been stolen and that they saw?
She does this with every subject, everything. Like, how are you guys taking someone serious that all they do is laugh at everything? I mean, even any psychology person that knows the psychology of human beings and how we interact, when someone is constantly laughing, constantly fidgeting and things like that, they're actually don't know what they're talking about, or they're nervous, or they're not confident. So how are you going to vote for a presidential candidate that giggles and laughs every 5 seconds when a question is asked, when nothing was remotely funny? We're going to skip forward just a little bit, guys, because I wanted to get to the meat of this stuff.
I also thought that, look, for a person who's apparently some wonderful 4D chess marketer, she ruined her own impact of that moment where everyone's still talking about the debate, and she sort of got it lost. And, but again, it's not a surprise where she ended up landing. But, both of us can be honest about Trump, and there are those moments where you started to see, dude, come on, it's right in front of you. Come on, man, it's right in front of you. Now, I understand it's 3-on.
He fell for some traps pertaining to getting him agitated under his skin that bothered me too. I was like, dude, stop reacting to everything. You're literally falling into every trap she's throwing at you. And that was where he lost, and that's where he got defeated. And that I definitely agree with.
One, and you're trying to think of your answer as well as respond. But what did you think about the opportunities not taken, and what potential explanation there is for it? Is it damaging? What did you think of him not landing the punches that he needed to?
It was devastating. It was so frustrating. He ran for every bait, every piece of bait. It was like me taking my dog Strudwick on the side lawn and throwing liver snaps, and he just runs after every single one. You don't have to try. It doesn't matter whether another dog's walking down the street. Like, he is laser focused on taking the bait I have set for him. That was Trump and her last night. I mean, there wasn't one trap she laid that he did not walk into. So it was incredibly frustrating, even on his core issues. I believe there was one exchange where he was asked about immigration. The question was about the immigration bill that didn't go through. All right, that would have been an easy pivot to why immigration is a bad issue for her, not for him. One line about why that bill was bad, and then pivot to why did we get 10.4 million illegals under her and only 2.3 under Trump? Why isn't that the question? Talk about Laken Riley, and talk about the 12-year-old girl who just murdered down by the border, whose mother Trump just met. He knows these stories. Instead, he starts meandering, and she baits him on rallies. And before we know it, that whole thing got turned into a discussion about whether people are leaving his rallies or whether.
Again, that was my biggest issue. Like, he just kept falling into her traps. And that's one thing I've prayed about pertaining to him, and I've wanted him to do, because that's the only way Trump is going to win people over that are in the middle. The people that are already going to vote for her are going to vote for her. The people that are against him that are for him are going to vote for him. It's the people in the middle, and it's how he conducts himself when falling into traps and answering questions and sticking to policy. If he can stick to policy, he can win over those people in the middle, but if he keeps getting trapped in these things, it's going to be hard for people in the middle to make a decision. But we're going to skip forward just a little bit, and we're going to move on.
Who's going to ask what? And then those questions are fact checked by the media organization too. Like, no, we can't have a crazy question on this. No, we can't. I mean, so that I like the idea, but it would have to be raw, and no television channel is going to let it be raw with the voters just asking exactly what they want. And I understand that too, because with all due respect to the American public, some tend to meander, some tend to not get to the point. You know, it could, you know, it could be bad TV, as you know. Yeah, but I do have a thought on how they could do it. First of all, how about just
because this I see forward, so it makes sense. They're talking about that they should do another debate, but have it not be on these big platforms, CNN, ABC, that are geared towards one side and pushing their narrative. They should do it on YouTube or do it somewhere X, somewhere where it's somebody that's unbiased and simply just asking the questions.
Mano a mano. How about just two of them go out on a stage and have at it? That's one option. She would never agree to that. And number two, how about he just says, we'll do a debate. I pick one and you pick one, moderator, at the same debate. I get to pick one and you get to pick one.
Pretty good idea.
Mine's obviously going to be very tough on you. Yours is going to be very tough on me. And we'll get after it. Who wouldn't watch that? I think that would be amazing. Every network would take it. But the one thing that cannot happen is another debate on these so-called mainstream channels. They're not mainstream. That's a lie. That's a
complete lie. They're always pushing a particular narrative. A lot of these bigger platforms, that's all they're doing. They're pushing a narrative, and you're never going to get the truth if you're constantly getting circumvented information that's not the whole story. You're only getting one side of it. And again, we watched this debate. They called things lies that weren't lies. Or fact checks weren't real fact checks. It's
a misbrand. They used to be 50 years ago. They're not today. They are truly state-run media, at least while the Democrats are in control of the state. And so I don't think Trump is going to agree to a second one because I don't think he thinks he can get a fair shot. But if it goes forward, it should be, I think, in one of those two formats.
And also, I mean, the reality that we've seen here is, okay, the debates, both the debates, CNN and ABC, everyone ran them, right? So it wasn't exclusive to those media organizations. So the idea that it has to be the CBS or CNN or Fox or MSNBC thing, reality is you just say, look, we're going to agree, we're going to rent a TV studio somewhere and we're going to do it. But I completely love the idea of one of yours, one of ours, because you would get an even run of the dream question that she has to answer, the dream question he has to answer. But I got to say as well, I mean, again, I like the town hall thing. I'm just going to push back on the idea here, which is that I like the town hall idea because they're
going to continue to talk, guys, but for time's sake, guys, I want to go on to some scripture about this, guys, because again, bring everything back to scripture. And I do believe that people that are voting, especially believers, we need to go into asking God for wisdom to see the right from the wrong and to see the truth from the lies. And a perfect verse for this, I believe, is in Proverbs 2:6, where it says, "For the Lord gives wisdom, out of his mouth comes knowledge and understanding." And also James 1:5, I think, further elaborates this. "If any of you lack knowledge, let him ask God, that he gives to all men liberally, and upbraids not, and shall be given." So guys, I kind of messed up that last part of that verse, but guys, pretty much when it comes to these sort of topics, when it comes to these sort of things, and it's kind of hard to see right from wrong, truth from not, go to God for wisdom on these sort of presidential things. That's who I think we should be leaning on. That's who I think we should be going to see the forest for the trees. Who should we really be voting for? That's how I came to my conclusion. Now, before we get out of here, guys, just want to, as I always say, if you're listening on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button right now. Please give me a like, share this video with somebody that it might encourage or might, bring them closer to Christ, guys. And if you're listening audibly on YouTube, on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, go ahead and give me that follow button, guys. I will see you in next week's podcast. Love you. Appreciate you. Bye.
But my salvation on me like it's a helmet. The way you to sin is death, for send you to hell quick. Wanted to be all about me, God, I was selfish.